stunning, a massive fire burning so hot it destroyed a longtime, very popular night spot. I'm going to roll some of this video for you, and you can see that, by the way, the fire department did such a good job. See, they're flying the drone right overhead. I mean, you're getting a look, courtesy of the fire department's drone action, like you've really never seen before, of the efforts that get into place to try to knock down a fire of this size. In fact, one official said it was, quote, complete structural collapse, and it seems like a dangerous situation for firefighters. I mean, this thing quickly went from first alarm to second alarm to third alarm, and yet not a single person was hurt. A firefighter or anybody who maybe lived or worked nearby, everybody got out of this situation alive and unharmed, which just shows you what we are dealing with when you got firefighters on the case. So this is all according to our Fox affiliate in Charlotte. It was early Saturday morning. Crews responded to a longtime night spot called the Moorhead Social. Right in the downtown area, there had been reports, somebody called it in, hey, there's some smoke coming out of that building. Well, according to our Fox affiliate in Charlotte, crews responded, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and as soon as they got there, they realized what they were dealing with, and they had heavy fire coming right out of the basement. Second alarm was hit. And then at first, this is somebody who lives right in that area who said, quote, at first we thought it might be in our building because we could smell the smoke. Imagine that. The smoke is coming on so thick and so hot. That's what they are dealing with. So that's what they did say. In fact, one guy said, look, I'm from California. I'm very familiar with the smell of smoke. And as conditions worsened, firefighters themselves had to evacuate the building, go into more of a defensive stance. But hey, when you got those ladder trucks and you're right there kind of on the edge of it, you can exit the building, but you can still fight that fire. And so from what we understand, they later shared on social some of the details about how they really went after this thing, saying that just almost on a minute-by-minute basis, the situation seemed to worsen, and crews had to evacuate. But they did say after 2.5 hours, they brought this thing under control. And it's another example of great work from firefighters anywhere in our country that they're called upon. Look at that. I mean, you got to be breathing through the smoke. You've got the ladder trucks that are there. It's right across the street from a huge apartment building. It's right in downtown Charlotte. And good job to firefighters in that part of the country. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ron Hoon. This is Fox 10 Talks. We continue the information and the conversation after we wrap up our news at 10 a.m. on Fox 10. Now, I just want to mention, because you're probably noticing it right here on the screen, today, for the first time, we're able to put your comments right up there on, right on our page. So this is great because you can watch us on YouTube or you can watch us on the Fox local app. And let me introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Syleste Rodriguez. Syleste.
Hoon, how are you?
I'm just going to bring your microphone up. There
how
she
you doing,
is.
buddy?
Just doing great.
This is brand new, that side panel. Isn't that great?
Isn't it super cool? Let's just look real quick. This is a little bit of an eye test, but we got Louie on there. We got Tyler, who's saying, good morning, Pod Peeps. Sherry, Nevada Pup. Good morning, everybody. We love our regular everyday, regular everyday viewers.
Yes.
And we love the comments that you guys share, and we thought, why not? Why not put some of those comments on the air so everybody else can kind of join in? And that, I think, also, Syleste, will encourage some other folks to jump on and kind of join the conversation. We got our regulars like we've got Lisa, we got a little philosophy, but then we've got, is that Trigonometry 3? Who's like, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. How's it going? Well, you know what's cool too? When
Yeah.
we put up the mystery camera,
Yeah.
everyone will
Oh,
be able to see
yeah.
what everyone else is guessing, and then they will
Right.
decide, okay, do I want to go with what they're saying, or do I want to
Yeah.
skip that?
Yeah. Okay. Alex is on there saying hi as well. All right. Let's get right back to some of our top stories this morning. We are keeping an eye. Stand by, everybody. We are keeping an eye on the White House, and there is the image. President Trump, we are told, just wrapped up within about the last hour what turned out to be a very lengthy phone call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. They're talking, of course, about any kind of a ceasefire that might be something that they could work on to end the war in Ukraine. He said, the president did say going into this, look, all the talk is Ukraine gives up everything, Russia gives up nothing, but he's going to figure out a way to get concessions, he said, from both sides. And Vladimir Putin has already, as you well know, set down all kinds of markers in terms of what he wants to bring this war to an end. And here are a few things. No NATO membership for Ukraine. A full ending of all sanctions against Russia. Ukraine and its allies recognize territory annexed by Russia, and for Ukraine to start to reduce the overall size of its military. Now, the thing about the territory annex, Celeste, is here's a part of where it gets really interesting. Crimea is, Russia seized that in the year 2014. So that's been 11 years now.
It's been a long time.
And they've been operating in that part of the world as Russian territory, with support from the Kremlin. Now, the real question I would imagine is, what about some of those areas like in the Donbass, those far eastern areas where they have a lot of Russian-speaking people,
Right.
and a lot of people who are maybe pro-Russian, and areas that have been seized. But will they, in fact, be granted to the Russians for their invasion, or will Trump hold the line in that area? Now, the other thing, Celeste,
Yes.
that I think is absolutely fascinating is it's 10 o'clock here in Arizona.
Yes.
Meaning it's already 1 p.m. in Washington, D.C. So we have just passed the deadline that a judge set for a response from the White House and the DOJ as to what's the very latest with the expulsion of Venezuelan criminals
Yes.
who were sent on aircraft to El Salvador. We already reported to you weeks ago that the U.S. government had negotiated a deal with the Salvadoran government for the prison down there. I think we actually may have a little bit of video in that regard as well. I mean, it is tough conditions, tougher than you would see in the U.S., that's for sure. Now, President Trump earlier said that he agreed with the idea that this particular judge should be impeached. But then, and this just broke, Celeste, in the last few minutes, so you may not have seen it, the Chief Justice, John Roberts, came out with a statement saying it's not an appropriate response impeaching a federal judge because you disagree with their ruling. So that's in response to what the president had posted earlier in the day, saying that judge who ordered the flights turned around that were deporting these gang members and criminals with with some pretty violent records, that the president said, quote, should be impeached. The administration said, look, the flights had already departed. In fact, I read one story that said by the time they got the order, at least one or two of the flights were already over the Yucatan Peninsula. I mean, they're already almost in El Salvador. So we're going to see how it all plays out. But let me just ask you, Celeste.
Yes, Ron.
Because now that we get to see the comments live right there in the corner, what are people talking about?
So, folks, actually, I said, do you like the comments on the screen?
Oh, yeah. What are they saying?
And there's a couple people who said they don't.
Oh.
Lil Philosophy said, it's different, but I'm sure people on TV aren't happy about it.
Okay. But here's Jen, Jen's Wall, who says, I think it's fine.
Yeah. So I think it's, we want to get your thoughts on it. We, see how all plays out.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of experimenting. That's the beauty, I think, of this
Yeah. Oh,
platform
yes.
and the stream since the beginning, Ron. It was like, let's try this, let's try that, let's see if it works.
Exactly. From day one. Remember
Right.
when we were in the little closet?
I
Not in
know.
this big, beautiful
Yeah. The
studio.
closet got warm sometimes. Somebody brought in a fan and really helped us
Yeah.
out.
We were going to start charging employees to come into the sauna and consider it more like a health club benefit.
That's very true. So here's a question for you, Ron. When you brought
Yeah.
up how to about impeaching a federal judge moments ago, I
Right.
thought, wow, is that actually a thing? Like people actually impeach
yes.
judges? And
Yes.
so I went to Google and I said, how do you impeach? And Google
Mhm.
finished it for me and said a federal judge. So I'm not the only one looking this thing up.
There you go. AI is all over it.
Yeah, and this is according to the United States courts, their government website. It says if a judicial conference finds possible grounds for impeachment, it submits a report then to the House of Representatives.
Yes, correct. And there are some Congress members who are already talking about filing the articles of impeachment this morning.
Because only Congress has the authority to remove an Article 3 judge,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
so it has to be Congress then that acts.
Okay, we will see if that happens. Meanwhile, out here in Arizona, there's a story we're following closely for you. There is a bill in the works, working its way through the process there between the House and the Senate, where individuals would be asked when they go to the hospital, what is your immigration status? Are you in the
Correct.
country legally or not legally? They say that none of that information would be kept in any kind of a personal type database, but it would allow the state, if state funding is involved in any way, to have an idea as to how much money is actually being spent on people who are in the country not legally versus those who are in the country legally. Here's some of what was getting said.
This is sort of being put in the category of pro-immigration enforcement. This really isn't about immigration policy. It's about healthcare, and it's about people's fundamental right to access, basic medical services.
America must come first. And yes, we are a wealthy nation. But we won't remain wealthy if we keep giving everything away with no accountability.
Okay, so that is those are both sides of the argument. Coming up after the break, your answers in our poll question, should this happen or should this not? But because we're at 13 minutes till, ladies and gentlemen, here comes the mystery cam. We're going to pop it up for you right now. Look at that pretty little town. Back in a flash. We're trying it out, and you can see all the guesses that we're getting from folks from all over the world. Let's see. We've got Cordell. who says, good morning, Phoenix News. We've got Brandon Miguel, who's very loyal to our streaming show. He says it's Georgia. I like Kim, who says it's Virginia. Angela, who, by the way, says it is kind of cool to see my name on TV.
Oh, yeah.
She's New Hampshire or Virginia, and I got a Tennessee there, Celeste. That's from Deborah.
Yes.
I think Deborah's one of our newer commentators.
I think so. Does Deborah know that she's become a commentator?
Yes. Well, this is Fox 10 Talks featuring Ron, Celeste, and Deborah as our commentator. Deborah, tell us where you're from.
I'm going to call her Debs because she's now in the inner circle.
Sweet.
So Tyler Lewis says he's thinking somewhere in the Bible Belt. Maybe he thought first Georgia.
Interesting.
But we got Louis. I don't know if you mentioned he said New England.
Okay.
And the Gonzalez says New England.
I don't see a lot of shadows on those vehicles, which would indicate it's pretty close to the noon hour there, maybe 12:15. So is that going to be, instead of Eastern time, maybe it's more Central time?
Like an Iowa? Is an Iowa in Central or South Dakota?
Yes.
It's pretty green.
I feel like South Dakota's more kind of barren.
Yes.
I mean, I love South Dakota. Everybody should go see Mount Rushmore.
And you love North Dakota.
I love North Dakota so much that if they were to call me right now and say, could you come do Good Morning North Dakota, I would be tempted.
Good morning, North Dakota.
I love North Dakota. People are so nice there, and it's actually quite
Why
quite
not,
a nice
why
place.
not, Ron Hoon?
Yep, there you go. All right, what's your guess?
Okay, I'm going to go like in Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with my philosophy that it's, oh, wait, Sherry says South Carolina. I like the sound of that. I'll go with
that's
Sherry,
a pretty good guess.
South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes your answer. What do we got?
Dublin, Georgia.
Oh, my
Remember
gosh.
Remember we talked about yesterday? Hey,
Yeah.
congratulations to all of you, by the way, if you chimed in with Georgia.
Yeah.
We talked about on St. Patty's Day yesterday that
Yes.
aren't there 12 cities named Dublin
Yeah, I
in
think
America?
So. Yeah. By the way, I like wearing hang on. I'm punching the wrong button. See my watch right here?
Yes.
I was at a gas station in Dublin.
Oh, when you purchased that at the Buc-ee's or where?
No. I just walked in to pay for my gas. And the guy at the gas station, Celeste, he says to me, now that is a beautiful watch. Can I see it?
Wow.
And so I'm getting ready to brag, right?
Are you taking it off at this point and handing it over?
No. But I said, it's an Invicta.
Okay.
And if people think those are thousands of dollars. You can buy them for like $69.
Oh, it's a good price.
I
Very
thought so.
reasonable.
Anyway, the guy looks at me and I'm like, feeling like all puffed up, and he says, yeah, that's a really nice watch. I got 67 of them.
Oh, wow.
He collected them, and he sort of suckered me in on that convo.
So now you are a collector of Invicta?
No, but I can never think of Dublin, Georgia without thinking of that guy and his amazing collection. Celeste, let me just show everybody.
If I could mention Ron, though.
Yeah, go for it.
You will always remember as well Tyler Lewis, who says, Ron bringing out the sundial.
Thank you, Tyler. Actually, the thing about putting the comments on the screen is we sit here and chuckle right along with you guys with your amazing comments, so it is kind of fun. Here's what it looked like over the last few days up in the Sierra Nevada.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, so this is Plumas County.
Mm-hmm.
And the temps are expected to go into the upper 30s today, but it's still going to be kind of chilly, and so maybe that'll stick around for the next few days. We shall see, but the pictures were just so beautiful. We had to share them. Celeste,
Yes.
is America more rude today than it was 5 or 10 years ago?
Oh, maybe.
I think
think
online. Now, this is the thing. Online for our show,
yeah, we got good.
it's not.
No, and for us, no. We have a lot of really nice people out there.
We love you guys
Yeah.
because if somebody does come on with the language or they're trolling or they're angry, everybody shuts them down.
They do, especially in the chat box.
Right?
We have people that are like, if you got anything rude to say, we're going to shut you down.
There you go.
You know what's, I don't think people are more rude. I think
Mhm.
there are some people that might be more unhappy. So they seem like they're being rude to others
Okay.
because they're just unhappy.
Oh, maybe
But I
so.
think once you approach them and you're like, can I help you out?
Yeah.
Like,
These
do you
are deep thoughts from Celeste. Let me
do
tell
you need help?
Go ahead, though.
Can I grab that door for you? Can I help you with your
Oh,
groceries?
right.
You know, how are you today?
Okay, but then if you say, can I grab that door for you? See, here's the thing.
Deep thoughts.
Correct. You get about 30 seconds into the conversation, they're like, could you leave me alone? Will you start? Well, how are you today, really? You know,
Right, but
that
and,
kind
well,
of
and
a thing.
sometimes they need that, Ron, or a hug. That might go a little too far.
Yeah, right.
Just-
As you're opening the door, it's getting kind of awkward. They're trying to squeeze past you. But also, could I give you a hug?
that would be kind of weird.
20% of people say America is more rude today than we were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this is things like people recording strangers for their social without their
Oh,
permission.
That's called sniping. That's not cool.
Swearing, which, go ahead in your own house and with your own group of friends, or if
Yes.
you're out drinking on a Friday night, swear up a storm. But don't assume that everybody else cusses like a sailor. We don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear the F-bomb every other word.
Correct.
No, thank you.
By the way, that's also a note to Netflix, who thinks they can't even make a movie anymore
I
with like
know.
85 F-bombs
Well,
per
have you ever,
movie.
and every movie now it's like PG-13, and it's like you're wondering if it should be on Cinemax or something. Like you're like,
Right?
is this okay? What's
Yeah.
You start to get embarrassed on an airline flight because
I
you're like,
know
oh, does
it.
everybody look at me, watching this movie?
Hey, we have a real treat for you now because I was just noticing, Celeste,
Uh-huh.
that Justin, when he was
on in, Justin.
YouTube
Come on,
about,
buddy.
I don't know. Matter of fact, look, we like to actually
We call that the hot walk.
bring on the guests like that. Like it's the old Carson show or something where you walk out from backstage.
I appreciate
Did you
it.
get that feel? Probably not.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Ron.
Right.
You guys are here to brighten up my day.
Okay, you come
'cause
Oh, yeah.
come
we're-
closer to me. I don't
Right
bite.
into that microphone.
You're right in the
Go
center.
ahead.
Right in the center.
Hey, by the way, if Celeste were to ask you, Justin, how are you doing today? Can I have a hug?
Not can
What-
I have a hug? Can I give you a hug?
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
sure.
yeah.
Would
See,
it-
look at Justin. See,
It wouldn't get awkward, you don't think?
No.
Okay.
No.
See, Justin is proving America is not more rude. You know what we are? We're more open-minded
let
than
me
ever
read
before.
a couple of comments, Ron, if I
Okay.
can, from
Yes,
the
of
chat
course,
box.
sure.
So Lisa says people have they have become more rude.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, you used to be able to knock on your neighbor's door, borrow a cup of sugar, and you really can't do that now.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I
We're
guess
not
you
doing
could,
that.
but you never know who's answering and what they're wearing
Right.
or not wearing.
Yeah,
when
no
you-
kid. Well, okay, make
you
it
don't know
weird,
who
Celeste.
you don't know who your neighbors are sometimes.
I was scrolling through my
Exactly.
phone and looking at pictures. Justin, let me have you give me a 1, 2, 3 on that microphone.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1,
Okay,
2, 3.
good. I got you. But anyway, I saw this old picture of Renee and me.
Aw.
Actually, it was Renee in the car, me standing out front with 4 eggs,
Oh, okay.
handing them, and I'm like, why did I ever take that picture? Well, it was a neighbor who called over on a Sunday. She was trying to bake a
Aw.
cake, and she's like, I'm out of eggs. Do you guys have eggs? Could you bring them over?
Yeah, it's
So
that is what
it still
neighborhood
happens.
community
Yes.
is about. Just that.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I love that.
Now, Justin, let's talk a little bit about what happened today in court because I got a feeling this case is going to go for a while. Let me call
yeah.
up, we like just sitting here chatting, but I do have some video from today's activity in court regarding Lori Vallow. So tell us what happened today.
Yeah, Lori Vallow Daybell had her pre-trial conference. So March 31st is jury selection. So we are gearing up for her first of 2 trials. This one for the murder conspiracy in the death of her former husband, Charles Vallow. Prosecutors say that she conspired with her brother at the time to basically shoot and kill this man who had pleaded to authorities to get her help months earlier. This has to do with the doomsday beliefs that we learned about through our coverage and, of course, in the Idaho trial where she was convicted of killing her 2 youngest children and conspiring in the murder of her romantic rival. So there's a lot to unpack, but so we went over some evidence issues today, jury questionnaires and things of that matter that lead us to this trial. And is she ready? And will she testify on her own behalf, even though she's representing herself? Remember that.
Oh, yeah. Remind us what her sentence was up in Idaho in the conviction of
3
the deaths of her 2
consecutive
kids.
life sentences.
So what happens if she comes to Arizona, which, we're pretty prominent in our use of the death penalty. What happens in this case if she were to be found guilty and it was judged to be a death sentence, and then you have competing sentences from 2 different states.
Well, this murder conspiracy charge does not qualify for death penalty. And we would have already seen a notice to seek the death penalty if it were, like, for example, first-degree murder or something. And we see that a lot here in Maricopa County. But, if found guilty and convicted, well, she just continues to serve her life sentences back in Idaho. But she's here for the rest of the proceedings in Arizona for these 2 trials. And a lot of people argue, well, why are taxpayers wasting money on her to be here? She's already a convicted killer and doing life in prison. But if you talk to family members of the victims in these cases, they want to see her held accountable and face justice in this case.
Could you remind us, just give us the synopsis, what this case, the other case up in Idaho was so horrifying and was so well covered, but what was this case about?
Well, this case is, and we covered it just as much, is that Charles Vallow was her former husband who had filed for divorce and said, my wife is trying to kill me and thinks she's a god. And she's going to lead the 144,000 into the new millennium, and that she is basically the chosen one. And by the way, she's also having an affair with this man in Idaho named Chad Daybell, who's a fictional doomsday author. And Charles is saying, I don't know what to do. I need to get her help. So he goes to Gilbert Police, tries to get her committed, and it doesn't work out because she ends up just getting discharged, and then life goes on, and months later, he is shot and killed in her home after an alleged fight.
You've covered this case, Justin, for many years.
Yeah,
it has
more than 5 years.
Yeah, it's been quite incredible. You've done a great job, by the way. I threw this out in the chat box, and I said, do you have any thoughts for Justin? And just one quick question. We only have about 30 seconds, but Amanda Chantel said, do you think she will get away like Casey Anthony did? What are your thoughts on this case, and how long? This may go on for quite some time.
Well, I would say that representing yourself is very hard, especially in a case like this. So this is going to be very tough, even for a veteran criminal defense attorney, because we have seen the voluminous evidence that was brought up in the Idaho trial, and a lot of it was Arizona evidence admitted, text messages, emails, and recordings. There is a lot there that Chandler police do have to show that there was a conspiracy, specifically a life insurance policy.
Wow.
So
Okay.
if she is able to represent herself, wow. And is not found guilty, that would be, I don't even know how to explain
Pretty
that.
incredible.
That would
pretty
be
incredible. Yeah. All right, Justin, thank you.
Okay, so Justin, you really have, I think, nationally become known as the reporter on top of this. What's the next, we just have seconds left, but what's the next day we should focus on?
I would say subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, hit the bell for notifications, and you'll see all of our trial coverage coming up in April.
All right, and just to quote Phil.
Hold on now. How do I do that?
You go to Foxton, Phoenix, next to the little logo.